Assalamualaikum and hello, I'm Madam Shaz, and today we're going to look into Unit 2, Writing a Story. Now, writing a story can be somewhat tricky or difficult for someone who doesn't read much or with not much imagination. Okay, so let me help you out with that. Okay, now when you write a story, you need to make your story interesting. How do you do that? You need to describe a character, the characters in your story, or describe the actions that happen in the story. Now, the reader will care more about your characters when you make the characters come alive. How do you do that? Okay, so there are two things that you need to do to make your characters come alive. The first one is actually to write about what the characters say or think. Okay? And the second thing that you need to do is to write how the characters feel. So before we start writing, let's do some practice. Okay? Now the first task that I would like you to do is to practice on your verb and also adverb. Now, verb is the action in a sentence. That's right, okay? Alright, for example, James walked on the street. Now, we need to use past tense for writing a story. So, James walked on the street. The adverb would be the description of how James walked. For example, James walked slowly on the street. So, please pause this video, okay? And do task 1. There are two boxes with verbs and also adverbs. Okay, please look for the meaning of all the verbs and also the adverbs so that it will be easier for you to choose which to put in which sentence. Now, for every sentence in that task, there are two blanks. There are two blanks. Okay, the first one and the second one. Right, let me give you some tips. The first one are normally verbs, and the second blank is normally adverb. You want to put adverb first? You can, but it might not be correct. You have to look at the sentence structure. Okay, but for this practice, most of the other answers are mostly verb in front and adverb at the back. So that's a tip for you. Okay, please pause this video and do this task and then check these answers with your teacher. Now that you have done task 1, let's move on to task 2. Now in task 2, you have to practice on adjectives. Okay, adjectives, as you know, are words to describe the noun in a sentence. Let's say James just now. James walked on the street. So walked slowly on the street. So the adjective would be the word to describe James, okay, or the street. Okay, so James, a person, the street, a thing. Okay, so adjective to be used, you can say James was tired, okay, and walked on the street, and walked slowly on the street. Words that you want to describe street can be empty street. So James was tired and walked on the empty street. So that would be a perfect sentence. So why do we use all these adjectives and adverbs? Because we want to make the reader feel and see, can imagine what they are reading. It's like watching a movie. Okay, so please pause this video and do that and do task 2. Okay, before you do it, please look for the meaning of all the adjectives in the box, and once you're done, please check all the answers with your teacher. Now, we are going to move on to task 3. Okay, this is a task where you need to see how the question is actually answered. You are given a sample of the a story that answers question in task 3. Isn't it interesting that you know what is to be expected of you? Now, in each question, there are tasks to be fulfilled. We're going to look into the question and see what are the requirements. You have seen this announcement in an English language magazine. We are looking for stories for our magazine. Your story must begin with this sentence. Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. Your story must include an old woman, a surprise. There are 3 requirements that you need to fulfill. The first one is you must include Anne knocked on the door of the house. The second requirement is you must include an old woman. And the third, a surprise. Can you think of 1 or 2 different kinds of stories you could write in answer to this writing task? Take a look at this.
Photo printer, SD card.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell, and I am a wilderness explorer in Tribe 54, Sweat Lodge 12. Are you in need of any assistance today, sir?
No.
I could help you cross the street.
No.
I could help you cross your yard.
No.
I could help you cross your porch.
No.
Well, I gotta help you cross something.
No, I'm doing fine.
Will your story be funny or
Miss Harper,
Yes.
how are you this evening?
Fine, thank you.
We're investigators of the Bridgewater Juvenile Justice Department. It's about your son, Nathan. I have a couple of questions for him. Will you come in for a moment? Wait!
will it be suspenseful? Let's read this sample together. Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. She had recently moved from America to the small village and had often admired the house's beautiful rose garden. She knocked again nervously. There was still no answer, but a wonderful sweet smell of cooking was coming from the kitchen. Someone must be here, she thought hopefully. Just then, she heard a soft cry, "Help me, please." She ran to the back of the house and pushed her way through the back door in panic. An old lady was lying on the kitchen floor. "I fell over and I think my ankle's broken," she explained weakly. After calling for an ambulance, Anne comforted her. As she stroked the old lady's soft white hair, she was astonished to see a birthmark on her neck. It was exactly the same shape as hers. Much later, they found out that the old lady was actually her great aunt Elizabeth. After that, Anne spent many happy evenings in the house listening to old family stories and eating delicious cake. Does the writer explain the situation in the given sentence? Yes. Number 2, does the writer include both points asked for in the task? Yes. How many different feelings does Anne experience in the model story? Now let's look for the words or phrases that show us how she feels. Determined, nervously, hopefully, in panic, astonished, and happy. Did you get that? Now, another way to bring your story to life is to use some of the 5 senses, like sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch. Okay, so can you underline examples of these in the model story? If you have done that, let's check the answers. This is using the sense of sight. Sweet smell. Yes, the sense of smell. What about this one? Yes, hearing. Stroking using what? Hands, so sense of touch. And the last one is taste. This is a language bank that you can use in your essay writing. The words and phrases that are right at the sides are actually the meaning of the words given. Now you have to do the last task of this lesson, which is writing a story based on this question. You have seen this announcement in a new English language magazine for young people. Can you write a story for our new magazine series? Your story must begin with this sentence. As Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside it. Now this is the first task or requirement for your essay. You must include it. Your story must include a message or map. Now this is the second requirement of your task. A surprise. Now this is the third requirement of this question. To write a story, you need a story mountain like this. So we have 5 points: background, raising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Expand your points using the WH questions. How many questions? Perhaps 4 or 5. Let's take a look at the question to understand how to use the story mountain. Number 1 should be at the background, the starting point of the story. And then number 2, a surprise, should be at the climax, the middle of the story. So what number 3 should be? Because it doesn't have number 3. So number 3, you have to think what happened at the end of the story. Now we have to start the story with the sentence given to us, which was, as Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside it. Okay, now in the background, you should describe the character, which is Mark. How do we do that? Ask ourselves the WH questions to describe Mark. Let's look at this example. To describe a person, you can ask yourself these questions. Who was the character? Mark. How old was Mark? 17 years old. Where did he study? SMK Taman Rupawan. Where did he go? When did he go to school? 2016 to 2021. What he liked about the school? Friends, many friends. So when you make the paragraph, after you have written the sentence given, you can continue with Mark was 17 years old. Mark studied in SMK Taman Rupawan, Penang. Mark went to that school from 2016 to 2021. Mark had a lot of friends. His friends were Ali, Nazmi, Lim Kiang, and Prabhu. He loved his friends. Now, of course, you will change Mark to the pronoun he. In the rising part of the story mountain, describe about the item, which is the piece of paper. Ask yourself questions such as, what was the item? What was it? What map was it? Where was it kept? Who found the bottle? For the climax, use the description of action. What did Mark do after reading the map? So, show the element of surprise here. If you still have problems to write this story, you may use this template to help you write. Now, this template has been divided into the 5 points in the story mountain. Now, for each point, there are questions to be answered which you can write as one paragraph. You may download this template from the link below. Now please write your essay in the English exercise book. That's all for today. See you next time. Assalamualaikum and take care.